Thank you for being at officer training. We're gonna get things rolling. So tonight is the night where you can't just like show up and not pay attention. You do get quizzed over this stuff at the end because it's important. Everything we're talking about, you have to know in order to be an officer for your organization. It'll save you a headache to know this stuff, so that way you're not coming to our office confused and messing things up on accident. And so that way we can help you when you do have questions though also. So please pay attention tonight. You have to stay the whole time. The way that we give you credit for being here is we'll have a QR code that you scan with the Tamug app. So that way at the end of the night, we know who all stayed all the way through. So yeah, we're going to do our officer orientation. We'll go over finance and then risk management, and then we'll be done. So yeah. Okay. So this is our team. My name's Mallory. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Activities. This is Chloe. This is Beth. And so we're like your main people that you will work with the most when it comes to your organization's operations. But also like Shelly is our fearless leader. She's our director. She knows everything. Some of you may know Taylor Kemp. He runs our new student conferences. Emily helps with our events. And then DJ Ottman, he is our admin that helps with a lot of the room booking when you're scheduling spaces on campus. And then this is our front desk staff, Jenna, Ryan, Scott, and Alex. You'll always see them in our office. So they are great people who know all this stuff inside and out. So if for any reason we're in meetings or we're not able to be at the office to answer a question directly, they oftentimes 9 times out of 10 can answer it for you, and they're very helpful.
Oh, okay. So this is something where we want everyone to be held accountable for their actions. And so we're kind of trying out this new accountability like check system this semester. And so the first time, I'll start with the common offenses. So the common offenses are what can cause this to happen. So if you hold an event without an event or purchase request, if you purchase without a purchase request, if you have alcohol at an event without permission, purchasing alcohol, not making a proper appointment for deposits with Beth, last minute requests with big expectations. If you have an event at 11 and you come in at 10:55 and say, hey, I need a Flywire link, that's just hard for us to complete that. And so last minute request, big expectations is a offense. And then not turning in funds collected within 24 hours. Beth will touch more on that, but that is also a really big one. And so the first time that one of these happens, you're going to have a mandatory meeting with the Office of Student Activities. And then depending on what that offense is, the officer team will need to attend in-person training again in the following semester. This training is mandatory once an academic year, but if you go through an offense, you're going to have to do it in the fall and the spring. If you have a second offense, you'll have to have that mandatory meeting with us. Same as the first one, you'll have to possibly attend in-person officer training again. Then your organization will be frozen for an entire month, meaning you cannot operate for that entire month. And then you must meet with your advisor to plan how to stay in compliance with our office's rules and university rules. And then the third offense, you're going to have all of those same what's the word? Consequences. But then instead of frozen for a month, you're going to be frozen for the entire semester. And then if we see you guys operating while you're supposed to be frozen for that month or semester, that can lead to your organization being like not unrecognized, like you cannot operate for a long time.
Okay, so we go over that, the big, bad, scary news. Just to make sure you guys know, like, we need you guys to take things seriously when we're talking about it, because we don't want you guys to be frozen or for y'all to have, you know, a meeting with your advisor where you have to plan how to stay in compliance. We want y'all to operate and have fun and do great things, but like, talking about those common offenses, those are things that happen that like will cause a headache for you and it causes a headache for us. And we just want things to go great. So most of our organizations really don't struggle with that stuff. And so we want you to be in that category of not struggling with it. So sorry to start off on a bad note, but we just want you to know, like, we have to hold y'all accountable to do things right. But here's what our office offers you as a student organization. We help you guys when you're putting on really cool events and fundraisers, or you're doing different things on campus. We will help promote those events for you through Ag News. Chloe really operates that. And so when you want to promote your event and your flyer, send it to Chloe and she'll get it out. We have our GroupMe for our officers where we give you all the big updates of, hey, make sure you're doing this. Hey, this huge event's coming up. Hey, Beth's leaving the office early, so come in at this time so you can get your P card to make your purchases. So being in this GroupMe is really important. If you scan this QR code, that'll take you there if you're not in the GroupMe already. So all officers should be in that if you want to stay in the know. If you ever want to put something on a campus screen, you know, like, again, showing off that your event's coming up and you want it to be on the screens down on the first floor on Main, we can help you do that. And so our front desk workers, Chloe or I, we can help get that set up for you. And then you've probably seen all the A-frames and flyers across campus. We help you print those. And so again, our front desk workers will help you do all of that. We do have a few just kind of like parameters to stay in when you're printing flyers to post about your event. We can only do 20 per event because we don't want to waste paper too much. And then with A-frames, we try to keep it for organizations to about 6 A-frames per semester, but we can be lenient depending on what the event is or how often you're having events. So just always make sure you're in communication with us. And then the biggest thing is that when you're printing these flyers, so that way like staff and faculty around campus know that this is an approved event by Student Activities, you just always have to make sure that you get that literal physical stamp of approval from our office. Our front desk workers will always do that for you. So we really help you guys do the communication to get your event out to campus. Oops. Okay, on top of that, we help you guys with the main online resources for your student orgs to operate. So the big ones that we're going to be talking about tonight are Wheelhouse and Get Involved. These help with your event planning and budgeting, keeping a roster of who's in your organization. We also have our Student Activities website where you can find a lot of our resources. We have the online format of like the finance binder if you need that. And so those are the big ones. And we'll go really in depth on Wheelhouse and Get Involved here in just a little bit. In our office, I just told you about the different printing resources, but we also have a huge storage room where orgs can like keep their bins of supplies or their your like trifold for Orgonite. We just make sure that it stays organized so that way everybody can find all their stuff. We have a lot of art supplies. If you're ever painting, gluing, whatever, you can always check out our art supplies closet and make sure that you can use that stuff for free before buying a bunch of stuff. We have a popcorn machine, so if you're doing a movie night, come use our popcorn machine. Or we have a few coolers that you can check out to to put drinks in for your event, or if you're having soda at it. We have an inflatable screen and projector. We've seen this used a lot for like we have 2 of them. And so like if you want to do a movie night at the pool, you have a cool inflatable screen, y'all can watch the movie up there. That's a fun way that students have used it. We also use a button maker if you want to make buttons to promote your organization. A really cool thing that we can do is if you're having an event and you want to have chairs and tables at it, we can help you book those things. And then we also have a fire pit. So if you want to like roast marshmallows. So our student staff, our office staff can always help you guys check out these things to make your events really great. And then finally, we offer a lot of great leadership resources that you have access to as student leaders now that maybe the general public doesn't always have access to. Like we do monthly development workshops. We have our President's Council meeting once a semester where all of our presidents get to have a nice fancy dinner and we help prep y'all for the semester. We have our 12th Man Leaders program where you get a really cool medallion for all the awesome things you do as a student leader. We do our annual leadership and awards banquet in the spring. This is where you get recognized for all the awesome stuff that you're doing, maybe get some scholarships, cool things like that. We love to help you guys find conferences to go to or help you guys find ways to help fund that so everybody can go out and learn, go to these awesome professional development opportunities, lots of volunteering opportunities. And then if you're wanting to like collaborate with businesses or organizations on the island, we have a lot of connections and we want to share those with you to help you guys' organization thrive.
So food, clothes, and Pepsi. These are all really great resources that y'all should be aware of. Chartwells, they have a new catering service. I think it's called Century Oak.
Yes.
What's it called?
Century
Oak. So if you guys are doing an event within the private dining room, so that's attached to the cafeteria, y'all have to use Chartwells or their Century Oak catering. And pricing and booking, it's really nice because they're right on campus. They can easily like bring food to y'all's events, and they help like set it up and clean it up, so y'all don't have to worry about cleaning it up or anything. They do really good with comparison pricing, and Mallory can help with all of that booking. They're a great resource to use. So definitely make sure like if you're having a big event, check with them to see like the deals that they can get y'all on catering.
They love to donate stuff. Like there's
Yes.
a hot chocolate fundraiser later this week, and they are donating it completely to Traditions Council to host. So like, don't be afraid to ask for them to give you stuff.
Yes. It's really good to have a good relationship with the staff over there.
Mhm.
And then for apparel orders, so your t-shirts, hats, stickers, CC Creations can do literally anything that you can think of. If you contact Sherry, she's our rep. She is amazing and she's so great to work with. She will find you the products that y'all need. What's really great about CC Creations, they're a TAMU license, so they work directly with like College Station's licensing team to make sure that like all the like royalties that you have to pay to have like TAMU stuff is like all squared away. They have permission to print that stuff. Like I said, we have a great relationship with them, so we highly recommend using them. When you order with them, there is a specific process, but the main thing that you need to like do first is have that purchase request in, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that's how you, like your advisor can approve that like you guys are okay to purchase this merchandise. You can use other companies as well, but we are we are less help to you if something goes wrong in those areas. Like I said, CC Creations, they work with TAMU or College Station, so they are great to work with. And then we are a Pepsi campus. We have an exclusive contract with Pepsi. So whenever you're having events and you're purchasing drinks, you have to purchase Pepsi products. I don't think they have food. So when providing food, it doesn't matter. But with drinks, you'll use only Pepsi products. Whether your money is fundraised or given by the university, you still have to purchase those Pepsi products. And they like to partner with organizations. And so if you want to like figure out how to like maybe get like they do free product and like
Yeah,
the
like if
money,
you're
yeah.
having like a pool party and maybe you want to see if you can get a bunch of
Pepsi.
Pepsi to serve at your event, Shelly and I can help you guys probably get a nice donation of that to help out just to save some money.
They
So
help
just work with us.
and they help provide water for big event.
Mhm.
So Pepsi is the way to go.
By the way, Pepsi water is Aquafina.
Keep that in
Important.
mind. Could be on a
Even
quiz.
water, it is specific.
Perfect. And so, okay, so she was talking about when you're buying merchandise. So just to go a little bit deeper into that. So since we are part of the Texas A&M system, when you work for or when you're part of a system like that, that means that like they own the rights to Texas A&M or they own the rights to the 12th man, to the phrase gig 'em. This is just a list of some things like common phrases that you might put on like a t-shirt or on your hat for your organization. So just keep in mind that when you use these things, we do have to pay the royalties of it. But usually the royalties is like something really like a really small percentage of the actual cost. So that's again going back to why CC Creations is great for that, because they make sure that like you're using the right print of it, or you're spelling it right, you're saying the right thing, and they really put it into like your whole total that you really don't realize that you're paying the royalties. But this is important because say you use a different company, you use like your uncle's t-shirt company, which is cool and fun, but maybe he's not licensed with Texas A&M and he spells gig'em wrong and makes it pig'em. I don't know. Someone's gonna see that and they're gonna be like, "What's up with that? You also just wasted a bunch of money to say pig'em on a shirt." Like maybe marketing's gonna reach out to you and be like, "You need to take this down. This does not represent Texas A&M." That could happen. And so like you could possibly get yourself into some trouble when you could have totally, avoided that by just using CC Creations. So you just don't want to work with another company because they might just mess up the A&M stuff. And so using CC Creations will help you. And like we said, Sherry is the best and she is so helpful and she works with Student Works all the time. So we're always going to promote CC Creations. So that way you can use all this fun stuff and, have Texas A&M on your shirt for your organization and you don't get into trouble with it.
This past semester, their licensing was denying a couple of shirts that said TAMUG. If y'all run into that situation, let me or Mallory know. And I talked with like our Marcom people and we helped figure that out. So sometimes they flag TAMUG, but if you run into that, just let us know.
Yeah, we can always help way more when you're working with them.
Yeah.
Okay, so booking spaces for your meetings and your activities. So you can use a lot of spaces on campus. If you want to use ASEC and Waterfront for your events, if you want to have like a really fancy meeting in there, or maybe you want to bring in a speaker onto the stage and use the podium, you can do that. You just have to work with us. Make sure when you're putting in your event request, which we'll show you how to do, but you want to make sure you're always sharing with us exactly where you want to host these events. So if you're using ASEC or Waterfront, I always know to reach out and I can help you guys with the certain processes with that. but classrooms are usually going to be the most common spaces you use for your meetings. And so it's really easy where once you join the GroupMe, we have a form link to the top or pinned to the top that you just fill out really quick. You tell us your top preferences of rooms that you want to have your meeting in or to have your event in. And then DJ, our admin, he will book that for you and then he'll communicate with you like, hey, I couldn't get you main 220, but I got you main 150. So this is where your meeting will be. So DJ will always be the person that helps you out with that. And you have to fill out that form in order to like truly secure a room on campus because he has to use a whole nother system approved by campus to truly book it. So if you skip that or you don't use it, you're not actually getting the room. You have to work through DJ's form. We have a few conference rooms on campus that you can specifically use. We have one in our building, in the Cybele building, right next to the pool. We have our conference room in there. So Shelly, she'll always help you with booking that. I can help you with booking the new conference room in Oceans and Hullabaloo. It's connected to the kitchen on the first floor of Hullabaloo if you want to use that. So I can help you book that. And then our 1973 Center, which is in the Cabo Grill building, they also have a lot of space in there, like the whole 1973 Center. There's couches, TVs, all that. If you ever want to rent or use that space for an event, Danny Rowe can book it for you. And then finally, for using rec spaces, so if you want to host an event at the pool, or if you need to reserve the courts for like a kickball event you want to have, for the pool, you're going to use Nicole. And then for the courts, fields, and other like rentals through the rec, Braden Johnson will be your contact. So there's a lot of people to work with. And if you ever get confused, we can always help you remember that. But that's a perk of being an organization is that you have access to all these spaces. If you're just a normal student and you're like, I want to host kickball, it's going to be way harder to reserve the courts that you need because you have to be a recognized student organization. So you get access to all of this and it's really cool. Okay, so now, are you doing that yet? Okay. We are going to walk you guys through Get Involved and Wheelhouse. So like I said earlier, these are the huge online resources that you have to use for your student organizations. You want to move on? Later. I don't remember the order of these.
We explain it first and then it does it.
Okay, so here's the difference between these two resources. Get Involved is a system created by Texas A&M specifically for student organizations. So this is what you have to upkeep so that way you're recognized, so that way you can operate. And basically it proves that you're following the policies and rules of Texas A&M. So all of your organizations have a Get Involved account, but really just your president, your treasurer, and your advisor are the ones that manage that. Everybody else, you really don't have to focus on Get Involved, just the president, treasurer, and advisor. And so if there's ever a reason that, you know, someone's not trained or you're not caught up on these certain parts of your recognition, it's always going to be a Get Involved that you have to be checking, okay? So recognition, Get Involved. Now, Wheelhouse, this is what everybody has access to. This is where you keep track of your roster, where you do those purchase requests that we've been talking about, or your event requests, where you keep track of who's all in your organization. And so Wheelhouse is really your day-to-day operations. Everything that your organization does is through Wheelhouse. Does that make sense, the difference between the two? Mm-hmm. Sweet. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So for Get Involved, your organization always has to be at recognized. So again, presidents, treasurers, really pay attention to what I'm saying right now. You have to be recognized. You have to be in the green. You'll have a literal green symbol that lets you know that you're recognized. This is how you make sure that all of your officers are academically eligible. Everybody who's an officer has to keep a 2.0 GPA. So always keep that in mind. And this is where you make sure, again, presidents and treasurers, that you've completed all of the necessary trainings for your organizations. This is also where you upload your constitution. So that way Texas A&M sees that you are following your constitution, you have the correct sayings and rules being followed in there. And then you just have a basic profile. So you guys should always be keeping track of these things, presidents and treasurers. And if you, for some reason, haven't looked at it at all, Chloe has been sending emails since December 12th outlining what needs to be done. If you're a new officer, what needs to be done. So make sure you're checking your email so that way you guys are getting these things all up to date. And these things just must be done or else you're going to be in the red and you're unrecognized and you're frozen until you're in that green spot.
And if you have any questions about what you need to do, you can either email me or I'll here after, and you can ask me questions then.
Chloe's the recognition queen. She gets in every morning and literally checks the list and always keeps people in the know. So if you ever have questions about it, Chloe's really going to be the one that knows the ins and outs of it. The last few parts of your get involved is going to be you have a signature card that shows that like you can be trusted with money essentially. And you also tell us how much risk is involved with your organization.
Okay, so now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good.
Bear with me for a second.
So if you are like a new president and treasurer, if you want to, you can pull out your laptop right now and you can kind of click around with us on Get Involved. We're just going to show you what it looks like really quick.
Are the new boards on here?
Mhm.
They have, like, they can log in.
I believe so, yeah. Involved, literally just type Get Involved TAMU.
It's like the first link.
Oh, I don't know what this is gonna. Yeah, recognized. I'm gonna use.
Okay. Okay, so this is, I'm big events advisor, so I will be able to have like full access, but whenever y'all log in to get involved, you'll click admin, I think. I think it's the same for y'all. Yeah. Admin, and it'll pop up whichever organization you're an officer for, if your president has put you in there as an officer. If you don't see your organization, you can type your organization name up top and it'll pull up. So you'll have all of these little tabs on the side. So this organization tab is everything that Mallory just told you about is going to be under this organization tab. So when you go to recognition, it shows you all those steps and it shows you that green that you recognize button. So this is where you'll have your, oh, they need to update this. This is where you'll have your roster of all of your full officers. If you're a president, make sure you put all of your officers in there. And that's where you can also see like if you're eligible, and then it'll also show you if you've done all your required trainings.
Which again is only for presidents and treasurers.
Yes. So if you're a president or treasurer and you want to know if you're fully trained online, this will have a list of all of your trainings, and it'll also show when it expires. And that's really important because sometimes they're going to expire like halfway through a semester. Like, for example, these ones expire in October. So when the new school year next year comes around, Ella is going to have to take these before they even expire to make sure they don't go unrecognized in the middle of a semester. So back to that recognition tab. You also have your profile. And so this is where you fill out the basic information of your organization. You'll do your purpose. The president will be that main contact person. You'll describe everything regarding y'all's membership, how you do banking, which is always going to be that SOFC account, and then all these other questions, but it's just all the basic information for your organization. Constitution, every organization is required to have a constitution that is approved by our office in College Station, and it has to be signed by your president, treasurer, and advisor. And so what y'all do, it's usually the president, but you'll upload it, put it all in there, and then there's these questions. You basically just copy and paste what is inside of your constitution, and then College Station will go through. If they end up, sometimes they'll deny it, and they'll give you an exact reason why they're denying it, and you'll literally just copy and paste whatever they say in the box to make it correct. This is a risk and affiliation assessment. Literally just talks about what type of risk and how much risk y'all's organization could possibly have. Whenever you fill this out, your advisor has to acknowledge it. So if you're a president, keep this in mind. You'll turn that in, but you'll need to like say, hey, advisor, please go in and acknowledge my risk assessment. And then it'll be like marked off as it's acknowledged and all good to go. And then the signature card, this is required to be signed by your advisor and then the president and treasurer. And it's all online, that you just have to like type in your name and UIN and it signs it right then and there. It used to be paper and it was the worst. So it's great that it's online. Is that it? Okay. that is Get Involved. Do y'all have any questions about Get Involved at all?
It sounds like a lot right now, but I promise it's very doable. Majority of our organizations, it's pretty like you figure it out as you go through. But just know, Get Involved looks like that. It's a lot of gray and black, and you hope that your organization
And
has.
you have a green box.
Yes, you want the green box. So now Wheelhouse again. Wheelhouse. Oh, this is your part. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Wheelhouse. So this is events, travel, all these things. We'll give you a walkthrough of this as well. So
Pay attention. This might be on the quiz.
yes.
This is.
So event request. This is a detailed description of the event, date, location, risk management, and travel, food, finances. Everything about an event is in this event request. The process is that you're gonna fill it out, submit it. Your advisor has to give it like a little green thumbs up. And then our office goes through and looks for that green thumbs up from your advisor. But we also look at your like everything in detail to make sure like you're not holding an event somewhere weird that is not allowed.
Yeah,
Or
strip club. That'd be a good example.
yeah, or like at a bar or something crazy. And so we'll read through everything, make sure your risks looks good. Be very thorough in your risk. If we see you put choking as like your only risk, we're gonna send it back and be like, hey, let's think this through. There's 5, 6 different types of risks that you need to think about whenever you're filling these out, and we'll talk about that later. But we want y'all to put these in 7 days or even more days in advance for our office to approve. When the semester gets going and we have 20 different event requests, it's hard for us to sit down and like read them while we're also doing like everything else. So if you put it in 2 days before, there's a slight chance we might not see it in time to approve it. You cannot hold an event without this event request. If that happens, it can lead to accountability checks. So event requests. Travel portion. When you do the event request, there'll be a question saying, is this 25 or more miles from campus? If it is 25 plus miles from campus, it is considered travel. You have to submit travel request 2 weeks in advance because it has a lot more steps. You have to complete a risk waiver whenever you're traveling. Before, again, this was on paper, but now it's been fully online, which is really awesome and super easy for everyone to get their waivers signed in time. There's going to be a link within your travel request that'll take you straight to the travel portal to fill out those waivers. And you no longer have to upload license and insurance. There's just a box that like says that your license is not expired, your insurance is up to date, everything. There's just a box for you to check that like says, okay, you're aware. I'm aware I have to have everything not expired. But like please make sure your stuff's in up to date before you travel. You'll do your purchase requests on there as well. Beth will go into lots of detail on that, but it's going to be a description of what money will be spent from what accounts. And these need to be submitted at least 1 day prior to an event. And then once submitted, it has to go through advisor approval. And then you can come to our office and check out a P card.
Unless travel's included.
Unless travel's included, then there's
Totally different.
more steps. For funding requests, that's also through Wheelhouse. That's how you request money from SGA for funding of an activity, event, or project. You must follow SGA's procedures. Procedures of email email the vice president of finance whenever you're submitting a funding request. But it looks pretty much like a purchase request or just some more questions. And then you'll have a basic profile, just like you kind of do and Get Involved. And that's where you can see all your events, your finances, a roster of all of your members. You can keep documents there, like your constitution and other documents that you may need. You can make forms to sign up or like hold elections within your organization. And then you can also track your service hours.
Yeah. Everybody take a picture of the screen. It might help you in the future on a quiz.
Can't give them cheat sheets.
Well, it can be helpful. There's a lot of information.
Open book.
Yeah. Okay. So y'all are probably going to do events where we're talking about travel. Maybe you're going to compete in a sport, or you're going to a conference, or maybe you're just like taking your group to go on a tour of NASA. You can get excuse letters for your folks if like, you know, they're going, if you're traveling during like class time or people might have to miss class for it. But here's the thing. So there's two different types of like excuses you can get for an event. There are authorized activities. So think of this as like a university activity that is required for you to attend. And there's really not a lot of these out there. The ones that I think of as an example is something that like our student body president does, where they are required to go to a monthly meeting in College Station. That is an authorized activity because of their status as the president. They have to go to this certain meeting. So it's authorized. And basically, professors have to accept it. They have to give an excuse for it. Sad day, you guys probably aren't going to be doing anything that's authorized as an organization, but that's okay. You guys are still doing sponsored activities where basically when you're getting this letter of excuse, it's saying like, this is for a recognized student organization. What you're doing is important, or we recognize this as the Office of Student Activities as an important thing you should do. And basically you're getting this letter to give to your professor to be like, hey, please excuse me from class if you can. And the professor is not, they are not required to approve it. But like you can do a good job of like making an excuse for it, of telling them like, I really want to go to this conference. It's going to help me grow as a leader, things like that. And that can always help you possibly get an excuse. But just know that we can help you get those letters. Shelly is really the one who has the permission to give those letters. So by all means do it. Just keep in mind that like professors aren't required to accept it, but it's always good to have it because it'll help your case more, with just making faculty aware of it. And so just always make sure though you're following the process. You have to have an event request in for this event. You have to have approval from your advisor, and then you just have to ask Shelly Fordyce to get you that letter to help your members, you know, get out of class for this event that you have. Does that make sense? Okay, so use the letters, do it, but like most times professors usually always accept it. But I just want to make sure you understand that they're not required to, unless it was the what was it called? The authorized type. Okay. Okay, so now Chloe's going to walk you through Wheelhouse really quick. So again, if anybody wants to open up their laptop to kind of go along with this, you can also do it on your phone. So again, everybody has access to Wheelhouse. So it's good to know this. So you're not like 4 weeks from now, like, what's an event request again? How do I do this?
Okay, we're gonna use Big Event again. So whenever this is the main page of Wheelhouse, it'll show all the approved events. And so Big Event, so all your organizations that you're a part of as an officer, or I think even as a member, will be in little bubbles over here. So when you click your icon, it'll give you all these different tools. And so we'll just go to Manage Home. So this is what y'all will see as officers. So this shows all of the upcoming events that Big Event has coming up. And you can also view, all the events that they have ever put in are all right here. You can even do filters to find specific ones. If you do like a reoccurring event like every year, this is also really good because you can go back to like, what did the officers last year put on their event requests, and kind of help you like plan things. You can edit y'all's about page, contacts. There's your events, and then your roster. This is where you can keep track of all of your members. They can like request to join your organization, and then you'll be able to come here and approve them if you have any. And then you can invite your other officers. You'll just type in their email address, and then you can select what officer role they have. Documents is where, like I said, you can upload all your constitutions just so you always have a good record of everything. It's not required to be here, but it is required to be and get involved. Oh, that's fresh text. You can also look at forms. And so this is how Big Event, it's coming up. This is how they keep track of all their registrations for small event and Big Event. So this is really important. This is how GFlow, this is how they track their signups to join that organization. And then when you go to finance, this is where you can see all of your purchase requests, and if they're approved, they'll be green, and this is how I can show y'all.
Or show them like the create
Create
request.
request. Okay. To create a request, you'll have the purchase or funding request. Purchase request is when y'all are using y'all's money. It'll be just lots of lists of questions. And you'll just always select which account you're using. They have a lot of accounts, but y'all will usually only have 2. And you can select which one. And then the funding request, this is whenever you're asking SGA for that money. And so they have a little bit, some different questions just because they're going to be granting you this money. So you'll fill that out. And then this also has to be approved by your advisor. Yeah, I think that's it on the finance. And then this is service hour. So, I don't know how to best describe this. Whenever for small event, for example, if you want to track that you did small event, like if your organization requires you to have service hours, you'll put that in, and then big event can come here and approve them. And then like, I'm not good at explaining service hours. I haven't
Basically,
used it a lot.
basically, if your organization requires service hours of your members, everybody has access to add in their service hours up here, and they just literally submit, this is what I did, this is the time, and it can be approved by your officers, or it can be approved by an organization.
Okay. I'll show them how to do the event.
And then the last one.
Event request. To create an event, you'll press the button. And then, like I said, you just fill out the title, you describe it. If you're co-hosting with another organization, you can type that in here. Time and place. Always make sure you have that room booked so you can put in that location and make sure everything is squared away. If you need security or parking, I can't go through the rest of it. But as you go through, there'll be more in-depth questions, like if this event is like just for a general meeting, or if it's for like something bigger, like travel or anything.
Yeah. And the biggest thing that we're always looking for is just that, like, you're being thorough when you fill this out. Like, you know exactly what's happening. We're going to talk about risk a little bit later. Like, you know what could go wrong, and this is how you're planning to make sure those things don't happen. We just want to make sure that you guys are creating a safe environment when you're hosting your events or your meetings. So it's pretty easy, but just make sure that you're always using Wheelhouse for your day-to-day operations. Get involved is really only for the presidents and treasurers to make sure you guys are in good standing. Okay, we're almost done with this one. Just a promotion of like a fun resource you have on campus. We do have a Low Ropes Challenge course. It's right behind Tama Hall. So if you guys ever wanted to do like a trust or leadership building activity, we pay students who literally will lead groups on the Low Ropes course, and it's pretty fun. And it's just $10 a person. So it's just a cool thing that you can use on campus. If you've heard of our 12th Man Leaders program, again, it's a cool program where you can get this really sick medallion when you graduate. We basically help you keep track of all the amazing things you do as a student leader as like a kind of a resume of your accomplishments. If you're interested in being a part of this program, I will be hosting a workshop on it and teaching you how to do it on February 4th from 5 to 6 p.m. in the private dining room. So be sure to go to that if you're interested. And finally, as y'all know, hopefully, we have Organizations Night coming up this Thursday night from 6 to 8 p.m. in ASEC Ballroom. So if you're a new organization, you really want to come to this so that way you can really recruit and get folks interested in your organization. So these blobs show you kind of like an aerial view. If you're looking down on the ASEC Ballroom, this is how all of the organizations are kind of split up into your sections, because we are going to give a map essentially of this and a list of all the organizations to all of the people who come. We usually have somewhere between 200 to like 600 people or students usually come to this. So it's a really great way to get people interested in your club. So we'll help you guys understand this, but just know you guys will be organized with other clubs that are similar to you. So that way it makes sense to our students, our freshmen, as they're trying to find you.
And you don't have to sign up for a table. Every org will have a table. Just come in and we'll send out more information about setup time and everything, but just come in, grab a table.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And then, in case you don't know, it's Welcome Back Week. So we have a lot of fun events going on right now. So make sure to encourage your members and for y'all to come out to these events. Our first one, or our next one, tomorrow is Secure the Bag from 11 to 1 in the flag room. This is a great way to learn how to apply for the university scholarship, literally free money. So many of our student orgs get money through the university scholarship and other great financial resources. And we'll have a cool make your own keychain event in the flag room later that afternoon. And don't forget about organizations night. It's going to be fun. Okay, you're going to take a quick quiz over what we just went over.
I am Beth Moore. I am the business coordinator for student activities, which means anytime you need to purchase something, you will be coming to me. I will be the person that you deal with for the most part, unless I'm out. Of course, if I am out, you can always come to Chloe, Mallory, or Shelly, and they can help you with a P card, as long as you have a what in? Correct. Very good. All right. So introductions. I am located in the Cybele building across from the pool. All right. So your account, your organization has two accounts. One is the account in which you raise funds yourself or you get donations, if you sell items, things like that. The other is an allocation account, which is where you will get SGA funds. Your organization account is money that will roll over each year, similar to a bank account. All of your deposits from cash and Flywire go into these accounts. Your allocation does not roll over. That will be wiped every year, usually by June 1st. If you use funds from the allocation account, they must have a tax exempt form. If you do not have it tax exempt, you will have to go back and redo the purchase. Okay, income for your organization. There are 4 ways that you will get income. You'll have dues, which I guess you guys just make up on your own accord. Sales of merchandise. So if you do go through CC Creations or what have you and purchase shirts, hats, stickers, whatever. Fundraising. So if you do like a food sale of some sort, and donations. So if you have donations, that's going to be anybody, you know, that just wants to throw some cash your way. When you collect the income, so for everything except for donations, you need to have a receipt. Receipt books go through me. So you come to my office for those. You can come to my office for the lockbox as well. In some events, a tally sheet is acceptable, which is just going to be for like if you are selling several of one item that's like the exact same thing. Brownies. Like brownies or cookies or, you know, things like that. For donations and sponsorships, like if it's a cash or a check, you just bring it to me, we deposit it. If they want to pay or if they want to donate via credit card, they would have to go through the foundation. And that's like a whole process. So if you ever have that situation, just come to me. We'll get it worked out. All right, completing a receipt. I know this seems a little mundane, but you'd be surprised how many times it's done wrong. So in the receipt book, there are 3 copies. You have a white copy. That is the copy that you fill out and you give it to the person that is purchasing something from your organization. You have a yellow copy. That, leave in the book. The pink copy, leave it in the book. The only one that goes out is the white copy. You bring it all back to me whenever you bring the deposit. Here's an example. Seems pretty self-explanatory, right? All right. Online payment links. Now, these are going to be important for things like if you're selling merchandise, because a lot of people don't have cash on them all the time. This is where you're going to come to Chloe or Mallory. Now, in the GroupMe, there is a pinned link to a spreadsheet. You go into that first and fill it out, and then you can let them know, hey, I put in a request for a Flywire, and they will get that taken care of. Your Flywire funds, you will not get automatically. Those come off of a report that I pull on the 1st and the 16th of every month. So you will not see those funds reflected in your account in Wheelhouse until the 1st or the 16th. Cash, that's going to be reflected same day. You cannot collect online payments via any of your own personal Zelle, Cash App, Venmo, any of that. It has to go through a Flywire or it has to be cash or check, period. All right, this is a big thing, okay? So deposits. Deposits are due the next, so when you take in cash or check, you have 24 hours, or if it's over the weekend, the next business day to bring them in. Deposits need to have an appointment made with me. And at some point I will have Chloe help me create a QR code for my Calendly. But if not, just send me an email. And we can set up an appointment for you. When you do your deposit, you bring me the cash. It needs to all be counted. It needs to have receipts that are accounted for every dollar. There is a form that you will have to fill out, which is it?
Mhm.
Well, club source of funds. So this is what you'll fill out. So the very top part, that is if you do dues, merchandise, donations. We don't generally do a university tax if it needs a tax receipt, because that's the ones that are going to have to go through the foundation. That's how they get the receipt. So if you get a donation, then you put it under the no tax receipt needed. And then if you're doing like a bake sale or anything like that, you could put it under the other. We don't really do ticket sales often, but so if you do a fundraiser or any of that type of situation, then it goes under other. I don't expect you guys to know your account number, so don't stress if you don't. I will make sure it gets filled out. Okay. So, important reminder, only presidents and treasurers are to have finance access in Wheelhouse. They're the only two positions that are allowed to put in a purchase request. So if I get a purchase request and it's not from your org's treasurer or president, and you come to pick up a P card, you're not going to get it. All right. I believe Mallory and Chloe kind of went over this. These are the different types of requests. Purchase requests, that's going to be anytime you want to purchase anything at all. If you need to purchase items to do a fundraiser, if you need to purchase supplies, if you need to purchase shirts, you're going to do a purchase request. A funding request, that's all them. I don't really have anything to do with that.
If you want student government to give you money, do a funding request.
Yes.
They have money to support organizations like you.
A funding request is not a request to do a fundraiser.
No.
That's an event request.
That's an event request.
You're saying fund me, fund my organization.
So the event request, that's going to be anytime you hold an event, anytime you're going to travel anywhere, things of that nature. But you must have these or else you're going to get denied. All right. You walked them through this, didn't you? The purchase request? Okay. So Chloe walked you through this. You do the purchase request in Wheelhouse. You put the purchase request in, let your advisor know you put it in, because I can't do anything for you until your advisor moves it in Wheelhouse to the student activities department approval. Once it's in that, and I know it's a little confusing because there is a spot that says approved, but that's not what you're looking for. What you're looking for is student activities department approval. Once it's in that status, you come to me, you get a P card, and then I put it into approved status. For example, this is what it would look like. Amazon purchases. So this has changed a little bit. If you have items that you want to purchase from Amazon, you're going to do a purchase request like you always would. Then once it's been approved, you'll go through, and the easiest way to do it right now is until I come up with something better. Just copy the links and put them into an email and send it to me. Make sure you include the quantity of the items that you need and the total. A lot of times you can do it on a spreadsheet and just send me the spreadsheet.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
This is important because when you do it through our office, you are guaranteed that it's going to be delivered to campus, to our office, so you know exactly where to pick it up.
Mhm.
We also have a special account that takes off the tax, right, for them or something?
So it is tax-free.
Mhm.
And the difference now is that we don't do it through like a business Amazon. We do it through what we call Aggie Buy. So if say you're ordering supplies for an event that you're having, make sure you get that turned in to me like at least a week in advance. That way I can make sure to get it in, get it ordered, and get it approved so that it all gets here on time.
Always do Amazon through us. Don't do it through your own system because this just helps us keep
It'll
your
make me
accounts
angry.
up to date. Yeah, it'll make her angry, and you don't want that. It's scary.
Example of a purchase request. Pretty self-explanatory. If you ever have any questions at all about anything, just ask. Send an email. Give us a call. That's why we're here. Purchase cards. Okay. We have 6 purchase cards. Yes. Well, because it's about to be changing again.
Yes.
So we have 6 purchase cards that that organizations can check out whenever needed. But there are stipulations to it. You have to do your purchase request. It has to be approved. It has to be in student activities department approval. When you see it in student activities, you come to me, you get a P card. If I'm not there, one of the ladies in the office can help you. There's a form that you will fill out, which is in here also. I'll show you that in just a second. You can't keep the card overnight unless I specifically say, okay, like if you have an event that starts at 6 in the morning and you need to buy donuts, I'm a little bit more lenient, but you need to bring it back as soon as you're done. Do not buy personal items with the purchase card. I know it's convenient. Just don't do it. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for me. Don't do it. We're back on the Pepsi. We are a Pepsi campus. Any beverages that you purchase for events and such must be Pepsi product. And here's your Aquafina. Don't forget that. Don't buy Walmart water.
Mm-mm.
All right, purchase card strike system. Here we are with the offenses again. So first offense, like if you don't bring my card back to me by the end of the day, we send a warning to the officers and to the advisor. The second offense, say you don't bring me your deposit, then you get an offense also for that. So you get frozen for 1 month then, and then the third time, it's the rest of the semester. Now, I actually recorded, I did the raffle thingy, but I don't think anybody's here. The winner's not here for it. So if you have a perfect record, you've checked out a P card several times, you've always turned it in, you've always given me all your receipts, you've always filled out your form, then your org goes into a drawing at the end of the semester for either a pizza party or money, right? Money. $250, I think.
$250.
It's either $200 or $250 or a pizza party, but I'm sure y'all are probably burnt out on
Everyone
pizza.
does.
Yeah. Receipts, they must be turned in immediately. They must be legible and they must be detailed. Now, I know on a receipt, you're not really going to be able to detail it. That's why we give you a form when you take a P card. On that form is where you will detail the items that you purchased. And the reason that this is important is because I have to go in and I have to code every single item you guys buy. And I can't do that if it says 2-ounce red. I don't know what that is. So I need to know what you purchased. Restaurants, if you go out to eat with your org, you're not allowed to leave more than a 20% tip. and I have to have both receipts. The itemized portion showing what you purchased, what you ordered, and the completed tip portion. Am I going backwards?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the form I was talking about. So right here, I usually fill this portion out for you when I give you the card, and then you'll fill this out and you'll fill this out. And this is where you're going to detail out exactly what you purchased. That way I can code it. Travel cards. Okay, so this is really becoming a headache for me right now because I'm learning that a lot of students do not have access to TrainTrack. There is a very extensive thing that has to be done. So first and foremost, you'll have to do a travel card training, supposedly in TrainTrack, but I've got to get those logistics fixed on that. I don't know what's going on there. So when you know that you're going to travel, please tell me immediately. I don't care if it's in May. I want to know now. That way I can be prepared when you come to me. So what you'll do the training. Once you've done the training, do a purchase request, do an event request. Once those are in approval status, then I have to do a separate travel request in a whole different platform. And then once that is completed, I can get your card and funds. But it takes at least 2 to 3 weeks to complete all of that. So like I said, if you're traveling and you actually want to have the funds, make sure you let me know as soon as possible that you're going to be traveling. How do I say this? So I had a situation where I got a travel card for one person in the organization, and then they traveled again. If your org takes 2 different trips, and the person that previously had a travel card isn't going, somebody else has to get it. So you got to go through that whole process again.
Sometimes this stuff is confusing, and like we want you to understand that we are here to help you. So the earlier you tell us,
Yes.
the better it's going to be. We're not trying to overwhelm you,
Right.
but we're here to help.
Right. And when you're going to be traveling, you're going to be in constant communication with me. So I'm not going to let you miss a step. It's just a matter of letting me know in time. Travel tips. When you're traveling, if you're purchasing gas, do not use the tap to pay. It will freeze your card, and then you can't use it no more for the entire trip. If you prepay for gas, make sure you go back and get the final receipt. I know a lot of us don't do that when we're using cards, but if you do, if the pump doesn't print a receipt and the inside is closed, and your only option is to take a picture of it, we'll have to make that suffice. At the hotel, before you leave, make sure you get an itemized invoice that shows all the hotel taxes, all the lodging fees, everything, because it all has to be itemized out. If you get room service, make sure you get an itemized receipt. And then if you're using Uber or Lyft, generally they email those to you, so just forward those receipts to me. When the trip is over, make sure you delete all university cards. If you don't, it doesn't matter because we're going to take the money back anyway, and the card's going to be invalid. What is this? Oh, event request. This is an event request for travel. So when you're traveling, you have to do an event request. I know it's strange, but
It all makes sense when you do.
Yeah. Look, man, it's just the procedures we all got to do. Reimbursements. Okay. So reimbursements, this will be like if you absolutely you couldn't get a P card in time and you absolutely had to use your own funds to pay for something. You're going to bring me the receipt. I'm going to need all of this information. I'm going to need your name, your UIN, your mailing address, your email, your phone, your blood type, you know. And then I have to put it in and make you a vendor so that we can get you paid. And I'm not going to lie to you. You don't want to do this because it's going to take about it's actually like 4 to 6 weeks now to get your money back. So
Use the P cards, don't pay with your own money, or else you're gonna be waiting forever to get your two.
unless you're just like, I don't care. I don't want that money back anyway. That's the only time you
But
want to
don't.
use your own funds. Yeah. But don't, because you have a P card. If you do need a reimbursement, you have to do a purchase request because it's still coming out of org funds. All right. Bake sales, tally sheets are acceptable, but you got to ask me first. And it depends on if I've had my coffee. We're going to be honest. Receipt books, pouches, deposit sheets, cash boxes, that all goes through me. A lot of times they can get it for you. Like I said, if you don't know, or if you have a question, ask. It's not going to be a stupid question. Just ask. We'd rather you know for sure you're doing it correctly than for us to have to go back and fix it all. If you're doing a fundraiser, we do not make change. We do not have cash at all.
We're not a bank.
We don't have cash. That's not a thing for us. This is a good little portion. When it comes to finances, ask for permission or how, not forgiveness. We're
Hey,
talking
guys,
about
guys, listen up.
we're talking about money here. So if you aren't careful with your money, you will get your org shut down. Or frozen, not shut down, but frozen. Finance binders. So I gave out 3 new ones. If you do not have your finance binder, please come to my office and we can either find it or we can make a new one. Binders get turned in at the leadership banquet in April. If it doesn't come back to me, and yes, I do account for all of them, then your organization will be charged $10 to replace the binder. This little QR code here also gives you the online version of it. And that is all. And now you get to take a test. I know y'all are super excited, I can tell.
Okay, risk management. All things are risky. Bad things can happen. You guys are held to a high standard as officers to make sure that these things don't happen, or you know how to keep track of what's going on and how to prevent it from happening. So you're at the end of this, you're going to know how to identify what risk is. You're going to know how to manage it, and you are going to make plans, make methods to make sure that risky things don't happen at your events. We use a table to kind of think about, like, what is the likelihood that something bad can happen? What's the likelihood that, someone can trip and break their ankle at your event? What is the severity of it? Thinking about, like, what are the odds something bad's going to happen? We've talked a lot about, like, alcohol, and we'll talk about it a little bit, how you should not be purchasing alcohol for your events. But if you are hosting an event where alcohol might be present, like, for example, our maritime ball, sometimes it's going to be hosted at, like, a hotel where there is a hotel bar. As long as you put that in the event request and we know that's there, and you're showing us, like, hey, it's possible that people who are of age, right, who can go to the bar might drink alcohol. And we know that this is possible. We're going to make sure that X, Y, and Z is done so nothing gets out of hand. That is what we're asking you guys to do. It's not like you're trying to, like, hide, like, ooh, something bad can happen. You're just making sure that, like, you prove to us, like, we know that this is a possibility, but we're going to make sure that, like, nothing gets out of hand. So you always got to think about what's the likelihood of it, what's the severity, and let's talk about it. When you do your event requests, we ask you guys to think about what are the physical risks? How can someone literally hurt their body if possible at your event? A lot of your events, that's not possible, but we need you to show us that you're making sure that that doesn't happen, right? What's the reputational risk? How could this hurt your guys' organization's reputation? Say if somebody is, like, cursing, bad-mouthing Texas A&M, bad-mouthing your organization, what does that mean to big event? How does that affect G-Flow? How does that affect SNAMI if someone's acting like that at your event? What will you do to make sure no one behaves that way? Is there emotional risk? Could someone's feelings get hurt at your event? Is there financial risk? Are you investing a lot of money to host this incredible golf tournament and no one shows up? What are the financial risks of that? Also, what are the facilities risks? How could, somebody, like, hurt the roof, punch a wall into the building? Making sure that that doesn't happen. So we are asking you guys to think about these things. It's called the PREFF model, P-R-E-F-F. As long as you are showing in your event request that you've thought about these things and you're making a plan to make sure they don't happen, That's all we're asking for. Like Chloe said earlier, if all you put is like risk of choking, okay, we know you're not thinking hard enough and we're going to ask you to do it again. And then you're going to be annoyed because you have to do a little bit more work. So just make sure you're taking time to identify it, assess the probability of it happening. What are you going to implement to make sure it doesn't happen? And, you know, reassess afterwards to make sure to make note for future people to know, oh, don't do this in the future. These are the big things we're going to be talking about, and how to make sure that they don't take place at your events or at your meetings. So we're going to be talking about alcohol, drugs, hazing, sexual abuse and harassment, fire, safety issues, travel, and parties or social events. Biggest thing with alcohol, illegal drugs, don't have them at your event. It usually makes things worse, right? And so obviously college students, college age is a time where alcohol can be a huge influence. You want to make sure at your events that there is no reason for someone to be publicly intoxicated and making poor choices at your events. You want to make sure there's no reason that minors would be in possession of anything or minors would be in consumption. I know this sounds stupid for us to talk about it, but again, you guys are held to a high standard and you need to make sure that you're keeping check for these things to not take place. Because you could be given crazy fines, members can go to jail, whatever may happen. And you don't want these things to ruin your time at college. So eliminating them from even being present at your events is going to help you in the long run. This is just talking about drugs. Same thing. Don't let them be there. How can you control this? Again, so if we're using the example of Maritime Ball, where maybe there could be a bar present at the venue that you're having, that's okay. Put it in the event request, make us aware that that could be present, and then list what's going to be taking place to mitigate the risk. You're going to have security there to check IDs, so that way it's not on you to make sure everybody is of legal age, right? You want to make sure that non-alcoholic beverages are present and that there's plenty of food, so that way people, you know, can take care of themselves. You make sure that you know your beginning time and end time, so you know exactly what you're responsible for. How people behave before or after your event is not your responsibility. So again, if alcohol is going to be there, you need to make sure you're really mitigating that risk and working with us and talking with us. We don't approve a lot of events that have alcohol at them. It's maybe 1 or 2 a year, and it's usually Maritime Ball or the golf tournament that Propeller Club puts on. So if you're thinking about having a really cool event and that could be like present, talk with us so we can help you make sure you're following all these rules. Know the law, make sure there's no reason minors are there, make sure there's no illegal substances, and also take care of people if they are impaired, right? You got to look out for your fellow Aggie, make sure that people get home safely if something like this does happen. Hazing. So hazing is a wide range of things. We're going to be talking about it. And in our organizations, whatever you're putting on, you really need to be thinking about how the activities that you're putting in place, or maybe the traditions that you have a part of your organization, how are they affecting people? Because colleges, universities, states at like the state level legally are cracking down on hazing. And you want to make sure that what you're doing is not making someone uncomfortable or hurt or making them unable to participate in your organization or just be a student. Because of hazing behavior. So what is it? It's intentionally, knowingly performing a reckless act that it can be on campus or off campus. It can be done by one person or with a group. And maybe it's for the purpose of pledging or being initiated into or just affiliated with, holding office or just being a member of an organization. So if you're forcing someone to do it in order to receive something, to be a part of your organization or to be at a certain status, it can be all sorts of things. It could be hurting people physically, right? Or maybe you're keeping them from being able to sleep because you're keeping them up awake late at night to do something that you have going on. Exposure to elements, making them stand outside longer than they need to be. Confinement in a small space. Maybe it involves consumption of food, liquid, alcoholic beverages, anything that's like an unreasonable amount that causes risk to them mentally, physically, or whatever. It can be a whole list of things. If you're forcing someone to do anything against their will in order to receive something as a benefit, it can be hazing. And so please take this seriously, because sometimes organizations accidentally do this. They're like, oh, let's make people look goofy and walk around campus wearing this. And if they do it enough times, they can be in our org. That's hazing because you're making them do something that they wouldn't do normally, and they can't say no to it. So be aware of this, you know? Here are the big ticket items like consumption, disproportionate responsibilities, humiliation, intimidating them, you know, causing mental or emotional distress, keeping them from being able to like perform academically. Um, hazing sounds really scary and really bad, and it is. But like we want you guys to make sure that you're not doing this. And if you ever have like questions and you're like, oh, this feels a little weird. If you're asking questions or if you feel uncomfortable with what's being done, you know, like we're here as a resource. Come talk with us about it. Because you know, we want people to have fun. The whole point of your organization is to find community, have a good time, play your sport, whatever it is. No one should ever feel like restricted or forced to do something against their will. And if you get caught doing this, you can't just give the excuse of like, this is what was done in the past. This is what I went through. This is a tradition. Or I didn't mean to hurt them. That wasn't what I intended to do. Or just feeling like you have to do it because the org said so. Or they consented to it. They said it was okay. Doing it in general, being tied to it, you're going to be held accountable. So failing to report it can also really tie you up with it. So if you know something's going on and it's bad, you really don't want to be tied to it. You need to report it if it's happening. And it goes against university law, code and policy, and it also goes against state law in Texas. So it always helps to really just ask when something weird's happening, like what's the purpose of it? Why is the baking club forcing people to stay up till 4 a.m. in order to be a part of baking club? That makes no sense. They just want to bake a cookie. Let them be in the org, right? Just ask, why is this happening? You can read these questions, but like, would you tell your parents that you're doing this? Would you tell a professor or a like Colonel Fossum that, yeah, we did this? If you wouldn't, then maybe ask some questions and figure out why we're doing this and how can we go back to the original plan of like building community and helping people have fun in an organization. We do have a TAMUG hazing prevention website. We legally have to keep record of every time a hazing report is made on our campus. So you don't want your org to be in that report. That sucks because now it's like easily accessible knowledge if you are tied to hazing actions. Yeah. Okay. Sexual abuse and harassment. I'm going to walk through these examples because it's important to know, but sexual harassment is unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature that is so severe or persistent or pervasive that it limits or deprives someone from being able to be a student at a university, right? So unwelcome sexual advances, not taking no for an answer, regularly making fun of someone because of their gender presentation. So I'm telling you this because it's important to understand that, again, as leaders, you're held to a standard to protect each other, to care for each other. And if you see these behaviors, stop it, shut it down, report it, and help your fellow Aggie out, right? And then sexual abuse is a little bit deeper, and it's when it involves manipulation, coercion, and force. This can be aggravated sexual assault, coercion to send pictures or threaten to release sexually explicit media. And so it goes a little bit deeper past harassment where there is this higher level of force being implemented. Here's some statistics. I'm not going to read them off. You can read. But unfortunately, like at this age in college, this is a time where sexual abuse and sexual harassment is rampant. And there are many, many cases of it. And we don't want that to happen on this campus, off campus, to our students, to our fellow Aggies. And so how can you look out for these things and make sure that they're not affecting your members and your officers, people who attend your events? You don't want to be tied to these things, and you want to make sure, again, a safe environment that people can enjoy. It's really important that if someone were to tell you that they've gone through something like this, or if you've gone through something like this, making sure that an individual can find a safe environment, if they feel comfortable preserving the evidence of the attack, reporting as soon as possible, seeking medical attention, and talking to a confidential counselor on campus. We have amazing counselors on campus who folks can talk to, or an advocate. Making sure people know their resources is important. Here are some really great resources specifically. So you can always call our university PD. And then for confidential support, again, our counseling office will be a really great resource. Okay, fire and life safety. This is basically just telling you guys like, hey, always be looking out that when you're hosting events that there is no possibility of things catching on fire or for just hazards to take place, right? If something is happening, always call 911, right? Weather, we live in Galveston where there are hurricanes, crazy weather all the time. Always have a backup location. And make sure you're always thinking about the weather and how it can affect your event. And if a campus emergency takes place, we do have a really helpful website for emergency response that tells you everything you need to know in the case of a bomb threat or if a shooter was on campus. You also learned a lot about this usually at your NSC, but I understand that might have been a while ago. But also know that if an injury takes place on campus, we do have Campus Rec has American Red Cross trainings that you can access where you can be trained in CPR or how to use the AED machine, but also when those things take place, calling 911, or if you're like in rec spaces, a lot of times the staff there are trained and know how to handle those things as well. Know your resources and make sure your environment is safe, right? Travel, we've talked a lot about travel, but hey, keep this in mind. If you are going to be traveling as an organization, make sure everybody is an adult. Because when they're a minor, usually you have to get consent from their parent, and that takes a lot of time. It's not the end of the world, but always keep that in mind that everybody should be 18 and older. It's always good to use rental vehicles. I remember when I was in college, I had a crappy car. So like if you don't want to use your crappy car to drive to Louisiana, make sure there's money in your budget as an org to rent a car. So that way it's more safe and you don't worry about like popping a tire like I could at any moment. Again, travel is 25 miles away from campus. That is when you are going to be traveling. If it's 25 miles or more.
If it's past Top Golf, then it's travel.
Top Golf, yeah. If you're using a truck, never drive with people in the bed of your truck. Fun fact, our campus went through a crazy lawsuit with one of our student organizations because somebody fell out of the back of a truck at an organization event. And so they sued the organization, and that sucks. I would hate for your guys' organization to get sued because then you don't get to do your cool events. So always, again, it's all about safety. Make sure people are being safe and can't get hurt. Behavior at parties. Again, we've been talking a lot about alcohol. Remember that if there's just one person at your event that's being an idiot, maybe they're being a drunk idiot, your organization can be held accountable for that. Always assume a responsibility for everyone's behavior at your event, right? And also, like, if you're going to be at a bar, maybe don't wear the women in engineering outreach t-shirt while you're at the bar. You never want to be like misrepresenting your organization or the university. Always be thinking about your behaviors and how, again, that reputational risk, how does it represent your organization? And it's good for you to talk about this with your members so they know this, right? Okay, basically this is saying that you want to make sure your events are accessible to anybody. If folks have disabilities, they should be able to access your event. So always be making sure about like, if you're having an event off campus, make sure there's an elevator, there's a ramp that people can access so that way they can participate in your event. And nobody can be excluded from an event, right? Everybody should be welcome to your organization's events.